I know that being confused by what Nintendo does, being all surprised. I know it's like it's a thing, it's such like a YouTuber kind of influencer sort of thing, and we're like, what? It's very sensational, and in the thumbnail, I can put myself being like, duh, like, but like, they really do just confuse and baffle. They really do know just how to, I don't know what they know how to do. They're just, you just can't predict what they're going to do. Even when they lay out something that seems so straightforward as this whole like Switch 2 edition thing, they still find these ways to just kind of like dodge and weave around your expectations. So Animal Crossing New Horizons is getting a Switch 2 edition, which, yeah, weird that they didn't announce it in the Direct last month. For some reason they waited, and now it's just like a random, despite the fact that it's coming out in January. It's going to be here in a couple of months. So yeah, I don't know. So it is interesting, and and that does mean that it's going to be a couple years before we get a new Animal Crossing game. I thought there was a pretty fine chance that we would get one next year, but I think this pretty much seals it. It's going to be at least a couple of years. And, the fact that we're getting a Switch 2 edition of New Horizons at all is not surprising. It was definitely like at the very, very top of the list of contenders. Because, like, you can see it. Like, you can see it in your head. Oh, it's game chat integration, and it's mouse controls, and it's all that stuff. What's surprising is that the Switch 2 edition stuff, like the stuff that's exclusive to Switch 2, is relatively slight. It's really just a graphical upgrade, a higher resolution. I can't tell from the trailer if they're going to be actually like, up-resing the textures and whatnot, like making other graphical enhancements, or if it really is just a higher resolution. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just the resolution, because it's not getting a bump to frame rate. That is, it is still going to be 30 FPS, and I know, there are plenty of people who are probably disappointed by that. But, if any game is okay at 30, it's definitely Animal Crossing. And, there really are other, it's not just as simple as rendering a game, or giving a game a performance boost. Like, you can't just automatically unlock the frame rate on every single game. And I'm not saying that they couldn't have if they like really, really wanted to, but I guess it just wasn't that important. But yeah, like for Switch 2, it's mainly just higher resolution. We've got mouse controls, which is, everything that you would expect. You can arrange your house using the mouse, and you can draw custom designs and whatnot. So yeah, like totally makes sense. Something a little less expected is the megaphone item. You can use like the built-in microphone to just like yell at the villagers, and they'll like chime up and tell you where they are. That's not something I would have guessed, but that's pretty useful. That's kind of fun. And then it talked about expanded online features. Mostly it just talked about like game chat integration. You can see your faces over the characters using the camera, which is cool. I really do think that's a fun feature. Now islands can hold up to 12 players, whereas the previous limit was 8. Which is very cool. My big question is just like, are you going to change how you get online and all of the limitations and all of the stuff that makes it hard to play online and makes me not want to play online because it's just so clunky and annoying? I don't know. I guess I'm trying not to get my hopes up. It's probably just these other features. But like, that's it for the Switch 2 stuff. All of that is going to be in the Switch 2 edition, and apparently the Switch 2 edition, it's only $5. It's $5 to upgrade. I mean, like, if you buy the Switch 2 edition, it'll be, $65 for the whole entire version. Thank you, by the way. Thank you, Nintendo. Only $65 instead of $70. But yeah, $65 for the whole thing, and then just $5 for an upgrade pack. And I guess it makes sense if there's no 60 FPS and there aren't a lot of other, really, really big enhancements or exclusive content then yeah, okay. Yeah, $5, sure. But I don't know. It just seems, well, that's the thing. It seems oddly generous for Nintendo because with a lot of these Switch 2 editions, they're kind of like not really adding that much stuff. And yet they're still charging like, you know, an extra 10, $20 or whatever. Okay. Well, it should be noted that this the Switch 2 edition does not include the DLC, which is annoying. You know, leave it to Nintendo to be the only ones in the industry that will do like a definitive next gen re-release that doesn't have the previous DLC. Very, very annoying. But it is still nice that you can upgrade your original for only $5. And the weirdest thing of all is that there is new content coming. There's a bunch of new content coming, and it is going to be available for free on all versions of the game, including Switch 1. And that's what's getting me. That's what's so strange here. The whole point of Switch 2 editions is to, you know, it's to sell you on the new stuff. It's so people on Switch 1 have to get a Switch 2 in order to get the new content. That's like the whole point, right? But no, most of the new content and features coming to Animal Crossing New Horizons are available for free for everybody, which is just amazing. Because like, yeah, no, this is a big content update. This is big. It's not just some quality of life features. There's actual content in here, which is of course funny because the last big content update for New Horizons, Nintendo said it was gonna be the very, very last one. And those liars, those liars, how dare they? How dare they give us new stuff? But yeah, I'll go over the new stuff that both versions of the game are getting. There's a new hotel on the island that is run by Kapp'n and his family, which is awesome. I really love Kapp'n. I can't remember how much they've dipped into his family lore. I haven't played all of like the DLC stuff from all the games. I've played the games, but like I can't remember off the top of my head if these are all new or not, but I love it. I absolutely love it. But yeah, no, it's like a whole, it kind of just seems like a sort of a miniature version of Happy Home Paradise where you're like designing rooms, but except you might not be judged, so it's just kind of like for fun. But yeah, like it's a hotel and you design guest rooms and they come to stay and you can earn like special furniture, and it's all about like trying to market your island. It's really clever. It really like builds well into just the basic premise of New Horizons and like what you're doing with it. So yeah, like again, that's content. That's actual new content, and they could have locked that behind a paywall. They could have put that just in the Switch 2 edition, but for whatever reason they just didn't. And then other quality of life stuff, you can now store more items. Storage is going from 5,000 max to 9,000, so hooray. Mr. Rossetti has a job again, which is really nice. You know, there hasn't really just, we don't turn off our devices anymore, so he hasn't really had much of a purpose, but now he cleans stuff. You can use him to just clean any parts of your town of the stuff, and he even will like put flowers in storage and whatnot. So that's cool. That's just a nice little thing. Slumber Island, where you can have like up to 3 dream islands, where it's basically just all of the stuff that you have access to is completely unlocked, and you can just edit and play as much as you want, and you can even do multiplayer, which is really cool. So like you and all your friends can just, I don't know, it's kind of like a playtesting thing, I suppose. You want to like design what you want your island to look like, and so here you can just kind of do a dry run or whatever, and you can terraform all you want. And I don't know, it's cool. It's something to play around with. I don't know how much I'll use it, but it's nice. Bulk crafting. Yeah. Yep, you know, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth, but it only took you 5 stinking years. I don't know why this was not considered at any point during all of the other content updates the game got for a good bit there. I don't know why we're only getting it now in 2025 with the release of a new system, but thank you. Just thank you. Animal Crossing New Horizons is a good game now. Thanks a lot. No, it was funny because they didn't even like, clearly they were showing it off without like actually pointing it out. You know, like they definitely were like, I don't know. I have to imagine that the reason they didn't do it before was like a design philosophy kind of thing. It was such a simple thing and people wanted it so much that I had to imagine there was somebody on the Animal Crossing team who was like, no, it somehow defeats the purpose of the game, or I don't really know. If that's the case, then that could be why they didn't like mention it. They kind of just like showed it, sort of like I don't know, seems like a little wink to the audience. But yeah, whatever the case, that's nice. That's very, very, very nice. That's a very welcome change. And then one of the most surprising parts of this, it's the crossover stuff. And I feel like I can't dip too much into this. I may have to turn this into its own video. I'm not sure. But it talked about a bunch of like Zelda and Splatoon stuff. And they're actually bringing like new villagers to the towns, and a couple of these villagers are literally like actual characters from Zelda, from Tears of the Kingdom, Tulin and Minoru. Like the actual characters are going to be in Animal Crossing, apparently. And then you also get a CC and Viche, which are like from Splatoon, but it's not the actual characters. They're kind of more lookalikes. But like, I don't know. That's a pretty big deal. Loads of items from like Tears of the Kingdom and Splatoon. A lot of really cool stuff. And then Lego, like a straight up Lego collaboration where there's like a whole entire furniture set based on Lego. So that's also pretty interesting. Yeah, I have more thoughts about that, but yeah, I'll do that later. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff, and most of it is going to be available for everyone, which is weird. You do have to wonder, why didn't they hold all this content back? Why didn't they make it just for Switch 2? Maybe it's because they had promised that there wouldn't be any more updates, so if they did give it a big update and charged for it, then I don't know, maybe I'm not sure. Or it could just be it's such a big social game that they wanted everybody to have access to the same features and everything. Whatever the case, though, it is a welcome surprise. It's a way to get everyone playing Animal Crossing again, which is cool, I guess. And then for me, it's really... Was it because they just announced that Pikmin 4 was also getting a way weird after-the-fact update, and I expected that would mean something about a Switch 2 edition, but they didn't mention a Switch 2 edition. So then there was this idea, okay, well maybe the base game on Switch 1 is getting an update, and they wanted some of those features to be available to Switch 1 owners, but the Switch 2 edition will be like a separate thing on top of that, perhaps, I don't know. But then now, a couple weeks later, we get this, where they do indeed say, hey, here's a Switch 2 edition coming to a game, but here is also an update that everyone gets. So now I'm looking back at Pikmin and being like, okay, well, that was like half of it. They said, here's an update that everyone gets. Where's the Switch 2 edition part? I don't know. Why would they announce them separate? They announced them both together here. So yeah, I don't know what this may or may not mean for Pikmin 4, possibly getting a Switch 2 edition. I really don't know, but it's cool. It is cool. And I look at this and I look at all of this free stuff for everybody and only $5 for the Switch 2 edition. And I know I can't get my hopes up. I absolutely cannot here. And yet I cannot help but wonder, is this Nintendo trying to throw us a little bit of a bone here? Because a really big problem with them is that, you know, the whole discourse and all of that, they've been charging so much for everything. It feels like they're just nickel and diming us on everything. Is this them being like, all right, well, it's the second highest selling game on the original Switch, just tens of millions of people have it. So like if we just be like not even like super overwhelmingly generous, but just like, oh look, they could have charged more. Is this purposeful? Is that them trying to kind of sway public opinion a little bit? I know it's a long shot, but honestly, they could stand to do this a little bit more often, because I really do think that it would help. I really think that it would help if just every once in a while they do something that's like, hey, you know what? That's an okay deal. That's nice of you. Thank you. Just sometimes. Just sometimes. That's the thing. Don't take every single individual opportunity to charge as much as possible. See, that's the thing. We need a little bit more of a balance here. So yeah, I don't know.